Guys, we'll just go ahead and I know it's been a minute since we've had Buck available since last week was kind of crazy. Coach, if you can just kind of give an update on where things stand right now within training camp, and then we'll let them open it up for questions.
All right, update. Training camp is moving along pretty good. We've had the snowstorm that came through, a winter storm that came through the last week that set us back a few days, and we're currently making those days up, getting into the cuts. We have to make cuts and get down to a number by Friday, and also trying to make sure that young men are healthy and ready to perform on the 18th.
Go ahead,
Terrell,
questions, guys.
yeah, Terrell, I want to ask. You talked about kind of having to kind of adjust with the snowstorm and stuff like that. You next week, what was your plan next week? Then to kind of it's a regular game week, where Monday you start out getting ready for your opponent that week, or how's that kind of the schedule go about?
Yes, because when the cuts are happening this week, you still evaluating a lot of guys. We're trying to speed that up. So as soon as we can identify the top guys, the top 50 that we're going to keep, the quicker we can get to trying to make sure that we are prepared for the first game. And that could be looking at the opponent and also making sure that we understand what we're trying to accomplish, offense, defense, and special teams.
Do you guys, I mean, you don't have any film, so how do you guys plan to go about like looking at some of these guys? I mean, it's kind of a new situation for everybody. So how do you kind of go about preparing for an opponent if you don't have film?
Well, it's unique that you don't have film, but you know the guys that are coaching, and it's like they're not gonna change this right too much, right? You're gonna do what you do. So whatever coaching staff, whatever guys that we're studying, whoever we're playing, just go back and find where they've coached that before and what they've done before. They might tweak it a little bit, but for the most part, what you see on tape from them in the past, you're going to see in the future.
Yeah, Coach Buckley, glad to have you with us. This is Alan from the Alan Aaron Sports Radio Show. Always a pleasure. And I know that you have 4 running backs that you talk very highly of. Have you narrowed it down to maybe the 2 starting running backs that you're probably going to go with, the 1-2?
Oh man, it's tough. Glad to be on with you. By the way, this is a tough process, and so with the 50-man roster, you have to make decisions not solely based on can they run the ball. What else can they do? So we've been spending a lot of time and getting them in competitive situations on special teams. Can they throw it? I mean, what else can you bring to the table? It's some tough decisions, some that you might look at and say, man, he's a little bit better at this, but he gives us this on this side. So a couple hours a day dissecting this, and it's never easy to tell a young man that we're moving on, but that's part of the business. So something that we have to do.
Yeah, I know that you have less, time's running out, but if some player at this very point, because a lot of players watch our show, what could they do to get a spot on your team to play if they really serious, less than a week away to go?
Well, if you're not in that final group, then it's pretty tough. I think how you make a team is you come out from day one and establish yourself. You make yourself valuable, being able to play multiple positions, and just taking care of business from day one. If you're trying to do that right now in the 4th or 5th week, then it's probably too late.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And, Tom Brady is somebody that you know very well. Now that he's retired, what can you say about what have you learned from Tom Brady that can maybe help you in your career?
I've learned no matter where you at, what position you play, always seek information, seek knowledge. And if you continue to grow, no matter what how many Super Bowls you won, where you played, then you keep that eye on being successful. So just continue to try to improve as a player, as a person. Just keep building your resume.
Okay.
Coach, it's Steve with Florida Broadcasting Group, Space Coast Daily. Good to see you again.
You too.
February 18th, right around the corner. What do you feel like you have to focus on primarily between now and the 18th?
Fundamentals. I think it starts and finishes with fundamentals. You know, if you look at what is the game of football about, it's about tackling, it's about getting off blocks, it's about lining up properly, no pre-snap penalties, making the plays when given an opportunity, and just being fundamentally sound and organized. And whatever game plan that you have, make sure you know it back and front, the back and front of it.
You know, as far as the fundamentals right now, do you feel good about where your team is, or do you go back to the coaches and say, hey, guys, we need to really focus on X, Y, and Z? Are you where you feel like you should be at this point in the camp?
I felt very good. Yesterday was probably one of our best practices. Today was not one of them. So yesterday, if you'd have asked me this yesterday, I would have been like, absolutely. After today, I'm like, no, we're going to go back and do some things. So it's just one of those things. Football camp is long. You have your ups and downs. We've had more ups than downs, but we still not where we need to be.
Terrell, I want to ask real quick. Sorry, guys. You signed a guy in Paxton Lynch, the local kid who's from Trinity Christian. What does he kind of bring? He's an NFL guy. He's a USFL guy. He's had kind of every stop. What does he kind of bring to the team a little bit?
You said it. He's an experienced guy, and you have a startup league, and you're looking around at your roster, and you're like, okay, who's been there? Who's been under the lights? When the things get going and it gets tough, you look around and you see guys that haven't had that situation, and you say, man, we really need somebody that understands what it takes, that's gonna grab the bull by the horn and take charge.
Yeah, one player that one of the team talked really highly about, Kamali. He talked about CJ Holmes. What have you seen in CJ Holmes as a player so far in this camp?
I've seen a consistent player, a guy that can play multiple positions, and most important, his attitude has been awesome. I'm an attitude guy. I don't think you can accomplish a lot of things on the field and in life if you have a bad attitude. And this team is built on first-class operation and a first-class attitude. If you don't have a first-class attitude, which is positive, then we're going to have issues.
Is that something that you run across quite often, that somebody has talent, but they just don't have the attitude?
Not often. You always have a few. And for the Orlando Guardians, we're not putting up with that. We're not going to talk. We're going to work. We're going to do our job. We're going to go play hard. We're going to give 100%. And we're going to shake our opponents after that, and we're going to start it over again next week.
Yeah. And I wasn't able to see the town hall. How was that town hall that you had in last week?
It was awesome. When you get a chance to hear the owners speak and why did they start this league and what are their expectations, you cannot help but to be excited about that.
Terrell, piggybacking off of Matt's question about Paxton bringing him in, is your plan to keep three quarterbacks, or will there be a competition between two guys and ultimately being named a starter next week? How's that process going with picking your main QB1?
It's competition all the way up until when we actually decide who's going to be number one. And if it's deemed and necessary to keep three, we will.
Yeah, it does sound like this week is tough for you because the roster gets down to 51. Is it something that you are like, I'm kind of excited that we're playing, but I'm also not excited that some of these young men, unfortunately, their dreams are going to fall a little short, at least this time around?
Well, this is always tough in any profession when you have to let people go and you see how hard they work and the passion that they have. But from day one, you realize this is what we signed up for. I never walk out of the room feeling excited that I just let 5 guys go or 2 or 3. That's not why we're in this, but it's a part of it. And I've expressed that from day one to them that it's not personal. It's not nothing we have to do. There's a certain amount that we can carry. All I've expressed to them is make sure that you're in that number. And how I go about being in that number is doing this. If you do those things, then you don't have to worry about it. That's for us as coaches to worry about who's going to be in that 51.
Yeah.
Terrell, have you thought about, I mean, you talk about this with your players. Have you thought about yourself in that first game and kind of the nerves, maybe a little bit you'll be going through that? Or is it still you're still kind of mixed in all this with going on with training camp?
No, yeah. I mean, it's to me, I tell the guys that preparation meets opportunity. You don't get nervous. I mean, I would say riding over to the game, you might be like, oh, this is exciting. And you might have a little palm sweat, but overall, it's still football. You got fans. To me, the only difference between a game and practice is fans. And we do have a few fans and spectators at practice, so you got a few more. But besides that, it's still football. It's still being organized, calling the right plays, getting in the right situations, executing at the right time, paying attention to the clock, and being fearless the entire game, not up to win 5 minutes. I'm excited to see. My kids are actually excited to see how I'm gonna act in the fourth quarter. That's like they putting wages on what's gonna happen to me in the fourth quarter.
Terrell, you talked when you drafted Charleston that you wanted a guy to hurt defenses, right off the bat from game one. How has he looked in practice? Is he everything you hoped he would look like as your number 1 pick?
He is almost there. I think with everybody, you got to remember they have not played in a year or two. So getting back into that competitive spirit, that I'm the guy, I carry myself, I think it's starting to show now, not just for Rambo, but for a lot of guys. And surrounding them with some better players. We've used up all our transactions in the preseason. We have a few left, and our goal is to do what's best for the team.
Terrell, I'm sorry, Steve.
No, go ahead, Matt.
Terrell, you obviously Bobby was a big influence in your life, and you've heard him talk a lot about during his coaching career. Do you have something in your mind you're going to say to your players in your first time they get ready to take the field? Some sort of words of wisdom, some sort of inspirational speech you want to give?
No, with Coach Bowden, I think from his readings, obviously read the Bible all the time. I read it, that it comes. I think when you have ideals, but it's nothing prepared, and what's inside of you, when you speak from the heart, it comes out.
Coach, so much revolves around timing, especially on the offensive side of the ball between the quarterback and the receivers. At this point in time, is your defense ahead of your offense, or are they pretty much even?
I would say the defense is slightly ahead of the offense. Even though yesterday the offense got the better of the defense, and that's what I like. That's why, to me, it was such a very good practice, that when you can go tit for tat, when one side has been winning, all of a sudden you see the other side starting to pick it up and being very competitive and doing it the right way, you get very excited. So we are heading in the right direction as a team, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, Coach Buckley, along those lines, I have a lot of young football players that's always excited to make it to that level. I asked Coach Ford this. I'm going to ask you, what did you think that helped you get to the College Hall of Fame?
Oh, I want to say the coaches, my teammate, obviously, Lord blessed me with a lot of ability, but to make sure I harness that properly and use it, I needed my teammates. I needed the coaches. I needed everybody else to make sure I was doing the right thing, heading in the right direction, and given the opportunity to execute.
And doing that, you're going to be college Hall of Fame. That's what I'm going to tell the kids.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Coach, looking back from day one, the first time you all hit the field to today, as a first-year head coach, has there been anything that surprised you? Any surprises?
No, like I said before, I've been coaching, so I've seen, especially with the younger group, and from even the music to the attitude, how they prepare, to the little things they like to do. That has really helped me. So for me, it was no surprise. What was good about it, because I've been part of it the last 15, 16 years, that I kind of had things in my mind of how I would handle certain things. I think most coaches, when you say old school coaches, handle things a certain way, and they say, but that ain't how we did it. That ain't old school. Well, I'm a little old school and new school. I'm blended in that aspect. I got some old school ways and thoughts and feelings, but I've also grown to the new school.
Time for a couple more here, guys. Anything else? Everybody good?
I'm good.
Great.
I think, Mr. Spain, did you want to ask?
No, I was first of all, I just want to thank you all for having me, and congratulations again, Mr. Buckley, on the coaching gig. I'm really excited. I'm pulling for you all. I'm Terry Spain with along with Mr. Steve Wilson with Space Coast Daily. So
welcome.
I'm excited about meeting you, and as the season go on, I'm looking forward to getting more questions to you, so you can see for your coaching experience and see how you enjoying the process.
Well, thank you and welcome, and I look forward to that. And thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm available anytime you need me.
Thanks, Terrell. See you
Great.
soon.
All right.
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach Buckley. Appreciate you. God bless.
All right.